Ron Burke, and welcome to the premiere edition of NBA TV Basketballography. And what better place to begin than with basketball's greatest winner, Bill Russell. He was the center, the captain, and the cornerstone of the Celtics dynasty, leading Boston to 11 NBA titles in 13 years. Along the way, Russell redefined the art of defense and set the standard for team play. Over the next half hour, we'll look back at Bill's career, examine the impact he made, and explore some of the racial and social forces that shaped his life. But first, some thoughts on the kind of player he was from those who knew him best.
Russell was one of the most fierce competitors that I'd ever been around.
Bill Russell, he dominated the sport.
With Russ's animal intensity that he brought to the game, in my judgment, made him the most effective big man and most productive big man that's ever played the game.
When you compare Bill Russell to the great centers playing today, he was the greatest player of them all.
What Russell was contributing was totally revolutionary to the game of basketball.
What a block by Russell!
What made Russell was the ability to control a game in different ways that did not necessarily involve his personal scoring.
Somebody went up for a shot, and he blocked it, and I thought it was a Harlem Globetrotters thing, because he blocked it so quickly back in the guy's face. I thought the ball was on a rubber band. I'd never seen anybody block like that.
He intimidated them. I mean, they'd never seen it like that.
He would psych them that every time they would go to the middle, they'd look, where's Russell?
Driving the lane, he lays it up, is blocked by Russell.
Blocked by Russell. What a play by Bill Russell.
You're past your man, but you know who's waiting for you right in the center there.
Part of that reputation is based on psychic. You know, you think about the reputation and you have to automatically change your shot.
Russell blocked shots without blocking them because people wouldn't take shots because they were afraid to take them. He changed the whole game.
Above all, Bill Russell prided himself on the team concept, doing whatever was necessary for the Celtics to win.
Well, what made Russell so special was that he made the rest of the players around him better.
And by him doing that, I think it brought everyone closer together.
And we all learned how to play around what he knew how to do.
A great exhibition of basketball by the Boston Celtics today.
Russell was the ultimate team player, inbred into the team, woven into the team more than anybody else that I've ever known, ever in any sport whatsoever.
He thought that any team he plays on should win every single game. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, but every single game.
It seemed that while I was in the league, Russell dominated everything. Winning 11 out of 13 championships, I think, is a tremendous achievement.
It's all over. The Boston Celtics are once again the world champions.
Bill Russell, if he had turned his mind to anything else, would have been just as great because he's a winner.
The very first thing that I can remember in my life is that my mother and father loved me and that I was good and nice. And I always conducted myself, at least I tried to always conduct myself so that I would be treated with respect because I treated other people with respect.
But growing up in Louisiana in the 30s, Bill learned that respect wasn't a two-way street.
It was a completely segregated community. But I just loved and adored the people that was around.
Yet once they stepped outside of their immediate world, Bill and his family would come face to face with the racial hatred that was rampant in the Deep South.
There was a certain amount of fear. You had to be careful to be safe. And my father and his father were not careful enough. And so most of our relatives thought it was a great idea for us to leave. Because they thought that my father, they never thought he would reach even middle age if he stayed in Louisiana.
So in 1943, when Bill was 9, his father moved the family from Monroe, Louisiana, out west to Oakland, California. But just 3 years later, tragedy struck when Bill's mother, Katie, died of kidney failure at age 32.
My father had made my mother a promise that he would raise us and send us to college. And that's what he was going to do.
Growing up under his father's watchful eye, Bill discovered basketball, and the junior varsity coach at McClymonds High School soon discovered Russell. George Poles would teach him the game, beginning with the basics, the rules.
That's how I learned to play, from working from the rules. The rules don't always help or don't always hurt. They're just rules. And one of the things it said is that the defender can bat the ball as long as it's ascending.
Before long, Bill's game was ascending, and his high school team would lose only 3 games in 3 years. But his defensive-oriented style wasn't what college recruiters were looking for.
I think the world wasn't ready for Bill Russell because the world viewed the center position as primarily an offensive position.
Only one college offered him a scholarship, the University of San Francisco. Yet, despite the doubts, Russell quickly showed how well he could fit in with his teammates.
We'd play one-on-one against each other, and he had this determination about him. And he brought this thing called shot blocking into the college ranks. We became a force defensively that won championships.
Russell began to establish himself as a dominant center, leading the Dons to 56 consecutive victories and national titles in 1955 and 56. He would also be selected to the 1956 U.S. Olympic team and captured a gold medal in Melbourne. But for all his success, Bill never forgot about the man who made it all possible, his father.
That's one single moment I've ever been ashamed of my father. And so he was my hero and my friend. I tried to take as much of that into my own personality and philosophy as possible. I don't think I ever got up to his level, but I tried.
Russell would join the Boston Celtics in 1956 after Red Auerbach acquired his draft rights in a trade with the St. Louis Hawks.
First conversation we had about me being part of the Celtics is, he says, there are people that say that you can't shoot, and you can't shoot very well, so that you are not going to be able to score in this league. Are you worried about that?
I said, Bill, the name of the game is to win. We're not interested in your points or your stats, because your salary is going to be determined by these two eyes.
What Red saw left him greatly impressed with Russell, and the two would form an immediate bond.
Auerbach was a perfect coach for me. He respected me. And when I got there, I had a friend.
He knew that Red Auerbach thoroughly believed in his capability and his uniqueness. And he found a man who treated him as a man.
And Bill's uncanny shot blocking was just what Red was hoping for. His defense was revolutionizing the center position and intimidating opponents.
You were forced to pull up halfway and take maybe a 15, 18-foot jump shot. And that's as good as you could get. You couldn't get the layup, because if you went for the layup, invariably Big Bill was going to get it and slam it down your throat.
One of the first times I played against him, I went up and took that hook and he caught it. And I had it blocked but never caught. And that I retired it right there. I said, that's the end of the hook.
With Russell controlling the backboard, we were in high gear with the up-tempo game, and we were blowing those suckers out of there.
Triggering Boston's fast-breaking attack, Russell became the final ingredient in the championship formula. And in 1957, the Celtics captured their first NBA title.
It's all over. The Boston Celtics are the world champions.
Bill Russell and the Celtics were on top of the basketball world, and his relationship with his teammates couldn't have been stronger. His relationship with the city of Boston was a very different matter. As the NBA's fiercest competitor,
he thought he was so good and that we should win every single game that he played in?
I believe he had a neurotic need to be great. I mean, his whole life depended on whether he won or not.
Well, I might say that Russell wants to win this thing so bad he can taste it, and that was a mark of how much he wants to win it.
I decided early in my career, the only really important thing was try to win every game. What do I have to do to make sure that we're going to win?
He was a lion of a competitor who refused to lose. Russell used to become physically ill before every ball game. That's how much he gave of himself to win.
Russell was a master of using psychology on his opponents, searching for any edge to achieve his goals.
One thing that you want to do to your opponents is to make them think, make them know they can't win.
Everybody was just afraid of Russell. I mean, he just intimidated people.
We shut a guy down, or we block a guy's shot and say, yes, we did that to you. And if you come back, we'll do it again. If you come back again, we'll do it another time. So you'll have to try something else to do.
He had to be, I would think, the most intimidating player perhaps that's ever played this game.
But Russell's intimidating demeanor wasn't only reserved for basketball. It was also part of the image he projected off the court. And that image was embellished by his wardrobe, which became a defiant means of self-expression.
Adopting the cape was really over the top. He was a determined black man doing whatever he damn well pleased. You know, that's what drove the white public crazy and delighted the black public. There wasn't any question about that.
In the 60s, Bill was an outspoken advocate for civil rights. He was among the first African-American athletes to lead the cause and join stars from other sports in pushing for racial equality.
He was a star basketball player in Boston, independent man who was an intelligent thinker. You know, sometimes, you can't hide your head in the sand when things happen all around you. You felt an obligation not only to people, but to himself.
Playing in the racially divided city of Boston, Russell was keenly attuned to the presence of racism, and it left him deeply troubled.
Russell just couldn't abide the idea that a man could cheer for him on a Saturday night at the Boston Garden and would then go home and tell some joke with the N-word.
You are a superb athlete and have intense pride in that, but to be judged on other things, too.
Yes, it would be nice if you could say that race has nothing to do with it. It's like being tall or being short or being fat. It had nothing to do with it, but at this point in the history of our country, it does have something to do with it.
As the years went on, Bill grew more distant from the city's fans, and the relationship was strained even further by bigotry that wasn't always subtle.
After we got a house in one of our fine residential bedroom communities, someone broke in and smeared excrement on the walls. Now that's going to have a bit to do with forming your opinion of your fellow man in the city where you're playing basketball.
Disturbed by the racism, Russell declared that he didn't play for the city of Boston, he played for the Celtics, and he would find solace in the camaraderie of his team. Inside Boston's locker room, the color that mattered wasn't black or white, but Celtic green. And no one valued that unity more than Russell.
The Celtics are a way of life. They're not just a team. We cared about each other as human beings, as people. When I became the team captain, I had a Christmas party every year for the team. All of us were away from home. Now this was just a thing that say, this is our family now. And that included everybody.
It's that feeling of supporting and encouraging. You give all you have to your teammate to help them be who we can be. We had that kind of care about each other.
Fueled by their team chemistry, the Celtics began to dominate the NBA. And with Russell pushing himself to the limit in pursuit of victory, they seemed invincible.
What kind of a basketball team are the Celtics going to have this year?
About the usual team.
You mean that means we're going to win the title again, right?
We're counting on that.
Throughout the 60s, the Celtic family would compile a growing string of championships, and through it all, the one constant was Bill Russell.
Susie's got the ball. He throws it straight up in the air. It's all over. And there they go. They've won it again.
Boston built a dynasty, becoming the winningest franchise in NBA history. And always the focus was on the team instead of the individual.
It never mattered who made the basket as long as the basket was made. And the only numbers that really matter at the end of the game, they got a scoreboard. And if your team has got the most points, hey, everything else is cool.
And the ball game is over.
The Celtics won 8 straight titles, and perhaps the moment that best defined their team came in Game 7 of the 1965 Conference Finals.
We got a 1-point lead, and we our ball out of bounds. I did not trust anybody else to take it out but me. I wanted to take it out because I'd make sure that I could make a good pass.
Now Russell he loses the ball off the support. Russell lost the ball off the support, and the ball goes to Philadelphia.
We go in the huddle, and all I could say was, guys, we got to do something.
Greer's putting the ball on a play. He gets it out deep, and Havlicek steals it over to Sam Jones. Havlicek stole the ball. It's all over. It's all over.
He had saved us so many times, and we felt so good about what Bill Russell did and how he dealt with us as people that we went out there and tried to get him off the hook.
Bill Russell wants to grab Havlicek. He hugs him. He squeezes John Havlicek.
Making him the first African-American coach in sports.
What better way to motivate Bill Russell, the player, than Bill Russell, the coach?
It's practically impossible to follow Red as a coach. You know, he's got a pretty good record.
All the other coaches that Red had considered I didn't like. And this is one coach that I could play for that I liked.
I don't anticipate any problems with the guys, because one thing that we've always had in the Celtics is mutual respect.
Brad, any final words of advice to the new coach?
Win! But winning proved elusive in Bill's first season. After years of losing to Boston, Wilt Chamberlain had his revenge.
Well, the Celtics on the brink of defeat for the first time since 1956. Gamely trying, but they did not have it here in the second half.
Wilt and his 76ers would rout the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they went on to win the NBA title.
I'm glad I was a part of that team that brought them down. But you felt like also, well, you know, it's way overdue.
I can remember that game when we were eliminated, and the Philadelphia fans were chanting, "The Celtics are dead, the Celtics are dead," and they're finally dead.
It appeared that time had finally run out on Bill Russell and the Celtics, and that their dynasty was at an end. But Boston would defy its doubters the following season. Proving that the Celtic mystique was alive and well, they defeated Philadelphia in the Eastern Conference Finals and then recaptured the NBA championship.
I don't think that when players come to the Celtics initially, they believe all that pride and mystique and that type of thing. But with the Celtics, we always picked each other up.
In 1969, the Celtics finished with the worst record of Russell's career. Though aging and injured, they made it back to the finals against the powerful Lakers, who had gotten even stronger by adding the Celtics' old foe, Wilt Chamberlain.
We all felt that we had the best team. We had the best record. We beat them during the season. We were the better team.
But the Celtics still had some playoff magic left.
The outside now to Sam Jones. He's good! Sam Jones!
Boston would even the series and send it back to Los Angeles for the 7th game. Once again, there were many who doubted the Celtics, but not Bill Russell.
I can't help but wonder, how do you feel about going into another 7th game, this time on somebody else's floor?
We've done it before.
We get back out for the last game. Jack Kent Cooke was the owner of the Lakers. He put out a sheet in all the seats. When the Lakers win the championship, the USC band would play Happy Days Are Here Again. The balloons in the rafters would fall down. Well, I took this back to Russell.
When the players came in, I read it to all of them. I says, there are a lot of things that's going on, but one thing that cannot go on. The Lakers cannot beat us. It's not something that can happen. They can't beat us. But it's going to be fun to watch them get those balloons out one at a time.
And Russell would do his part to help spoil the Lakers' celebration.
There was something about the Celtics that made it that they had to win. They willed themselves to victory that time. And then Russell walked off into the sunset.
And the Celtics, they have done it again. A spectacular finish.
Chris, I'm here with Bill Russell. Bill, this must have been a great win for you.
Exactly. Boy, this is such a great bunch of guys, you know. It sounds all corny, so I talk like that, but I told these guys before the game, I don't care what happens. I wouldn't trade you guys for any guys in the world.
The Celtics had won 11 NBA championships in 13 years, and only one player was there for all of them, Bill Russell.
What it's all about is winning the championship, and Russell's teams won more than any other team in the history of the sport.
There's no question in my mind that I have never, even to this day, seen a better center than Bill Russell.
I was really in love with my career. Every minute of it. The time I spent in the locker room and on the floor with my teammates. I always say that it was like I couldn't go to heaven because leaving there and going anyplace else was a step down.
Russell's last game in the '69 finals seemed to symbolize his entire career. Despite being outscored and out-rebounded by Wilt Chamberlain, he led the Celtics to victory and another title. That left Russell with a unique distinction, the only man with more championship rings than fingers. As Larry Bird put it, winning a championship is one of the hardest things to do. Winning 11 is simply amazing. Certainly there were players who were more flashy and scored more points than Bill Russell, but no one in any team sport matched his legacy of winning. Thanks for joining us on NBA TV Basketballography. I'm Ron Burke.